Hello and welcome to today's video. My name is Femke from Femke the Fiction on Instagram and Bookish Buddies over on Twitter. And today I am here with the most surprising books of 2020. So, honestly, I don't think this video needs a lot of other introduction except, you know, saying that these were the books that surprised me most in 2020. So let's just get into the books. So I have limited this to 4 books because there were actually quite a few that did exactly what I expected them to do. And so that's why I stuck only to 4 books. So the first book on this list is Follow Me Down by Tanya Byrne. So this is not my usual genre. I believe this is a YA thriller about a girl, Adama, who moves to a boarding school in England after, living in Nigeria, which is where she's from, and then living in London and then moving to the countryside of the UK to go to boarding school. There she meets Scarlett, who becomes her best friend until they fall in love with the same guy, which results in them fighting and becoming rivals. So this sounds really shallow if you say it like that, but it's really not. It actually took me quite a while to like this book because after I'd read it, I still had quite a lot of questions and I still felt very confused because of the way it's told. It's told essentially dual timeline. So we have event X, which I will not say what it is because it will be a spoiler. And the first timeline is all the events leading up to event X. And then the second timeline is everything from event X onwards. So you just get these 2 timelines which talk about the same people but different things, if that makes sense. And this book was super cleverly written. It's quite shocking. At first I didn't get the ending. I was just like, what? Like, how is this the end? But after I thought about it, it was such a macabre ending. And I actually just sat here horrified because I just realized that, like, what happened after the ending of the book. Because the ending of the book is the end of the first timeline leading up to event X. So event X happens right after the end of the book. So once you realize that, it's pretty shocking actually. And I also liked that this book does not make it abundantly clear who the love interest is. At first you're led to believe it's character A, but as it turns out it's not. And then that character is also turns out to be someone we've already met, but we haven't realized it. It's super twisty and I can only recommend this book. It's a pretty old book. I think it's from 2012 or something. Oh, 2013. But I was really impressed by this, at least, 2 weeks after I finished it, because in the beginning I wasn't, but now I am. Then the second book on this list is Anna Dressed in Blood by Kendare Blake. I figured this would be just your average ghost story, essentially. And it wasn't. It was so much more than that. If you need help, or if you need pointers on how to write from a certain voice in a certain tone, this book is that. This was written in such a unique voice. That made the entire book for me, because the main character is kind of full of himself, but I didn't find it annoying. I just found it funny because he knows he's full of himself and he's super witty. And in addition to that, I really liked the story as well. It actually surprised me by how dark it was. I didn't expect it to get as dark as it did because it is a young adult fantasy, maybe even middle grade. I'm not even sure, to be honest. No, teen. So this is a YA, and I didn't expect it to get as dark and gory as it did. But I really appreciated it for that, to be honest. It didn't shy away from blood and gore. So if you do not like that, don't read this book. But yeah, the thing that made this book for me was definitely like the voice it was written in. And the third book on this list is Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. I am a little bit conflicted about this book because when I started reading it, the first 25% I really loved, and then the next 50% was kind of repetitive. But then again, I really did love the last 25% as well. So why is this on my most surprising books of 2020 list? This is a science fiction. Often I tend to not really like science fiction because it gets too sciencey. And while this does get sciencey, it didn't overdo it in my opinion. I was kind of apprehensive going into this, but it really surprised me by what it did. This was my first ever Brandon Sanderson book, so I think this just is a good place to start. And I think it promises good things for other books by Brandon Sanderson. And then the final book on this list is House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. I think those who have been following this channel for a longer time may know my feelings on Sarah J. Maas, but essentially it is this. I have loved all her books in both the A Court of Thorns and Roses series and the Throne of Glass series, except for the final books. So I'm saying A Court of Wings and Ruin and Kingdom of Ash. I did not like either of those books, and that just caused me to kind of resist Sarah J. Maas, if you know what I mean. But I bought this because this is a special edition, so I figured I might as well read it. So I did a buddy read with Lauren from Me, My Books and Food, and I actually really liked it. I found that I could not stop reading. There were definitely a couple of things, probably the things that make Sarah J. Maas books, but I found those a little bit annoying. But in the end, I really liked this, and I do think that Sarah is fit more for adult work, so this urban fantasy, than YA fantasy, to be honest, but that's just my 2 cents. So those were the most surprising books of 2020 for me. If you've read any of these books, let me know down below in the comments. If you liked this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up and hitting the subscribe button. And I want to thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!